Welcome in to another edition of Just the Truth. Glad to have you join me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio to lose weight for the last time. Visit myphdweightloss.com. Traffic on both lanes of California's Golden Gate Bridge was shut down on Monday, according to the California Highway Patrol, as images emerging from the scene showed anti-Israel protesters holding banners with the message, "Stop the world for Gaza and end the siege on Gaza now." More details on that shutdown in just a moment. Meanwhile, Republican Senator Marco Rubio accused President Biden of sharing the details of his private phone conversation with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with the press in order to appease anti-Israel pro-terrorist activities within the Democrat Party. Donald Trump has said from the beginning that he can't get a fair trial in New York, and that seemed to be proven true when at least 50 potential jurors in the former president's hush money trial were released immediately yesterday after admitting they cannot be fair and impartial. California officials are suing the beachside city of Huntington Beach over a voter ID amendment. It passed last month with 53% of the support of a majority of the residents. The state says, nope, you can't require IDs to vote. We'll get into that. And do you constantly feel sleepy? According to a new survey, you're not alone. We'll talk about this latest survey showing Americans just aren't getting enough sleep. Hope you'll join today's conversation. 864-477-JOEY is the Firmin Ford text line. Your comments are welcome. You can call, leave a voice message. Your emails are welcome as well, joey@joeyhudson.com. What a great evening I had last night at the 4th District Republican Club's gala. Boy, we had a wonderful time, a room packed full of like-minded conservatives here in the upstate of South Carolina. Special thanks to Nate Loip and Curtis Smith and the whole team. I wish I had all their names, but I don't. But the whole team who put this on, it was just fantastic for Peg and me to be part of it. And the icing on the cake, if you will, Nate and Curtis and the group, they pulled one over on me. I was not expecting this, but I'm so proud to have received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the 4th District Republican Club. I've been involved in Republican Party politics for a long, long time, and they recognized that last night. And boy, it was humbling. Again, a very big, much a surprise. I had no idea this was being considered, but what great fun it was to, for those of you who were there last night, to join with you and to share that with you. And I'm just humbled that my many years of being a Republican, a conservative Republican, were recognized last night. So a special thank you to the 4th District Republican Club.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
On our guest line this morning, Senator Tim Scott.
Thank you for listening to one of the best radio shows. Joey, God bless your leadership.
Joey, congratulations on your new show.
I just wanted to let you know that I always appreciate your perspective and your common sense approach to the issues.
You know what? If people like you keep telling us the truth, believe me, we're paying close attention.
Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Overhead images showed both lanes of the California's Golden Gate Bridge being shut down yesterday. The California Highway Patrol released these images from the scene, showed anti-Israel protesters holding banners with the messages, "Stop the world for Gaza and end the siege on Gaza now." A similar demonstration also blocked traffic on Interstate 880 in Oakland, California. The San Francisco Department of Emergency Management said in a statement, Golden Gate Bridge is closed in both directions for an undetermined amount of time, citing a civic demonstration. Again, aerial images captured by KTVU later showed the Golden Gate Bridge protesters being taken into custody and the banners being put away. CHP Andrew Barclay told Fox News that 7 protesters had been removed and more could be removed. He also said that officers were trying to remove protesters who had chained themselves to their cars and was unsure how long that would take. I haven't seen a report of how long the bridge was closed down. Barclay said These protesters are facing multiple charges, of which can include but are not limited to refusal to disperse, blocking traffic, blocking a bridge, which is a specific penal code in California. While they do have the right to protest, the manner in which they're doing it is not only illegal, but incredibly dangerous. Now, over in Oakland, in that protest, 7 demonstrators were attached to concrete barrels that had been placed in the middle of the roadway, according to KRON there. A flag attached to a fence there says A-15 Economic Blockade for a Free Palestine. The A-15 Action Group says on its website, there's a sense in the streets in this recent and unprecedented movement for Palestine that escalation has become necessary. There's a need to shift from symbolic actions to those that cause pain in the economy. The global economy is complicit in genocide, it adds. Join participating cities in blocking the arteries of capitalism and jamming the wheels of production. Real-time traffic data from Google Maps showed extensive delays building up in the Bay Area as a result of the multiple protests. Other protests have been reported across the nation. Philadelphia City Hall reported protests there, downtown Miami, and Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. The Biden administration is still struggling with their message on how to respond, and apparently still trying to appease both sides, pro-Israel and the anti-Israel. And guess what, Mr. President? It's not possible. You're either, as we say here in the South, for or against Israel. It's that simple. Fox News' Bill Hemmer confronted White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby. Kirby has to be getting tired of defending the Biden administration. He has been under siege over the past few days. Hemmer had a long list of foreign policy blunders under President Biden's leadership following Iran's direct attack against Israel. Biden had warned Iran not to attack Israel over the weekend, saying, "Don't." But as we know, the Islamic Republic fired 170 drones, more than 30 cruise missiles, and more than 120 ballistic missiles towards Israel on Saturday, according to the IDF. Hemmer, co-anchor of Fox News Channel's America's Newsroom, said Joe Biden said, "Don't do it," but Iran did it anyway, as he was introducing Kirby onto the show.
Oh, you got your hands full, and I was looking back at the track record for President Biden. Here's what sticks out. The Afghanistan withdrawal was a mess. We failed to stop Putin from going into Ukraine. The war with Israel and Hamas has been absolutely dreadful and destructive. Again, it's the first time Iran has aimed at Israel. China's military buildup is substantial, and that was just this morning what I came up with. Can you argue that American strength and persuasion is better today than it was 4 years ago globally?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100% I can,
Where?
Bill, and I can do that very comfortably after serving for as long as I did in uniform. I'll tell you, this is a president who understands American leadership on the world stage. He has devoted additional resources, not just militarily, but diplomatically, economically, around the world to advance our national security interests, and we're going to continue to do that. American leadership, particularly, let's talk about the Middle East in the weekend. I mean, American leadership was absolutely vital to helping Israel defend itself. We had American fighter pilots in the air, first time ever, that we were involved in the active defense of Israel in a combat sort of scenario. That's how seriously we take our commitments. And as the Israelis have said themselves, they couldn't have done what they did without American help.
Hemmer also asked Kirby about whether the administration plans to reconsider allowing Iran to access billions amid the sanctions waiver on the country. Kirby responded by pointing to the Trump administration, which has been one of his standard responses over the last 24, 48 hours.
Listen, Iran has been a pain to your administration. It has been a pain to Israel when you consider its support for Hamas. In light of Saturday's events, where Iran hit Israel for the first time, or at least tried anyway, those that got through, is it time to rethink allowing Iran access to billions of dollars in electricity sales between Iraq and Iran? Will that policy be stopped, sir?
As you know, that's a an item that comes up for extension every few months, Bill, and the previous administration also extended it, as have we, because the Iraqi people are just so reliant right now on energy resources from Iran. We don't want our friend Iraq to not be able to power itself. We're working with them, of course, on improving their own energy infrastructure, but it's really something that we're extending to make sure that the Iraqi people have the power and the energy that they need to subsist and to survive themselves economically. We have put a lot of pressure on Iran. The president met with the G7 yesterday to talk about a diplomatic response that's unified and to explore other opportunities to hold Iran accountable for what they did.
A number of GOP senators have been very critical of what they see as Biden's continued weakness on deterrence after the Iranian regime ignored his request. Republican Senator Marco Rubio accused Biden of sharing the details of his private phone conversation with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with the press. Rubio believes to appease the anti-Israel pro-terrorist activists within the Democrat Party. After Saturday's attack on Israel by Iran, President Biden reportedly called Netanyahu to congratulate him for fending off the attacks, while also urging him not to retaliate against Iran and escalate tensions in the region. Rubio claimed that Biden shared the private details of this call to, quote, appease ceasefire activists whom he argued were really pro-terrorist. Rubio argued the U.S. already knew Israel would retaliate, so this was part of a political game that the Biden administration is playing.
Do you support U.S. strikes on Iran? And if not, how do you think the Biden administration should respond?
Well, I support defending American troops in the region. You know, we have people stationed in the region in multiple countries, and we sent them there. Whether people like them being there or not, the bottom line is we sent these young Americans there, and our job is to protect them. So I'm in favor of doing anything we can to protect them and prevent them from being attacked. But Israel is not asking us to launch attacks on Iran. I have ever heard the Israelis come to us and say, will you help us or will you attack Iran or go in after Iran? They're not asking for that. They're not asking for it. But I think we go from that to the other extreme, which is Joe Biden telling Netanyahu, take the win, don't do anything. And then his people leaking it to the media, leaking it to the press. And what it sets up is they know that Israel's going to respond. They know this for a fact. So why would the White House leak it? There's only one reason they leak that. And that is that so when Israel does respond, the White House can say, we told them not to do it, and at least somehow, in some way, appease these so-called peace activists, by the way, these ceasefire now people who were out yesterday cheering the launch of hundreds of rockets and drones and missiles against Israel. People that are out there cheering military attacks of this scale and scope are not peace activists. These are anti-Semites, anti-Israel, pro-terrorist elements out there, and we need to stop calling them peace activists. They are not peace activists. Peace activists do not cheer massive attacks against other countries, which is what they were doing yesterday. So I guess this is part of the White House's effort to appease them by putting this out there proactively.
Rubio also said that the call would embolden Israel's enemies in the Middle East, saying that the White House was, again, playing with fire here. Self-described anti-war activists in Chicago cheered after learning that Iran had launched hundreds of drones and missiles at Israel on Saturday. Earlier in the day, at the same event before the Iranian attacks, one agitator led chants in Farsi translating to "Death to America" and "Death to Israel," according to the Free Press report here. And look, I get our freedom of speech; it's dear to all of us. But boy, that's hard to swallow when you have these groups on American soil chanting "Death to America." Look, if you're not happy here, go someplace else. Let me invite you to go to Iran. Go to one of these extremist countries. Get out of America if you hate America that much. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a voice message. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. At least 50 potential jurors in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial were released Monday immediately after admitting that they couldn't be fair and impartial. Details on that in just a moment. Let me talk with you about something very personal, your weight, or better yet, that excess weight that you have carrying around your waist. Do you want to get rid of it? Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to fit into your swim suit much better as we head into the summer? Well, I have the solution for you, and it's called PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Let me introduce you to Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team. They have offices in Greenville, Asheville, Charlotte, Lake Norman. And if you're listening to my voice someplace out of the Carolinas, they can help you as well. Just call 864-252-4925. I've had listeners in Pennsylvania, in Illinois, in Alabama, all around the country. They can do this with you virtually on the phone as well. The important thing is to get started on the program. If you've been on the fence, you're just not quite sure, let me just say one thing to you. PhD works. It's just that simple. It works for life. If you've been considering the program and you haven't made that call, let me encourage you to make that call. Set up your consultation. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. The phone call that you need to make is at 864-252-4925. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. Judge Juan Merchan, presiding over the jury selection, brought 96 potential jurors into his Manhattan courtroom to be sworn in for questioning yesterday afternoon. The judge told the prospective jurors that his role is to help ensure a fair trial. If that's the truth, you'd move it out of New York. He said, "You alone are the judges of the facts. You alone will determine if the defendant is guilty." He added that the defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and that their decision must be guided on a full and fair evaluation of the evidence. Merchant also said, as judges of the facts, the jurors must decide of the witnesses who are truthful and accurate. When Merchant asked the group if they could be fair and impartial, over half immediately said no. At least 50 were let go from the jury pool for that very reason. There's a total of 200 possible jurors present at the New York City courthouse. We'll see how that goes as they'll continue to choose jurors. Former President Trump spoke outside of the Manhattan courthouse yesterday after the close of the first day of jury selection in this hush money criminal trial. The 45th president expressed his disappointment over the judge's apparent decision to not let him attend the high school graduation of his son, Barron Trump, on May 17th. Trump must be present in the courtroom every day of the trial. Trump called the case a scam and said it should not be happening.
This is an assault on America. Nothing like this has ever happened before. There's never been anything like it. Every legal scholar said this case is nonsense. It should never have been brought. It doesn't deserve anything like this. There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country. And it's a country that's failing. It's a country that's run by an incompetent man who's very much involved in this case. This is really an attack on a political opponent. That's all it is. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, voters believe that. This is going to cost you the White House. How will you be campaigning over the next several weeks?
Again, Donald Trump, as he was just outside of the courtroom in it appeared to be a parking garage, a little noisy, hard to hear. The president again calling it just a scam. I mean, who does this? What judge would not allow a father to attend his son's high school graduation? During the opening day of this, again, what's being referred to as the hush money trial against Trump, Judge Merchan said that it's too early for him to decide whether to honor Trump's request to skip a trial day to attend his youngest son's high school graduation. Yesterday, Trump's defense team asked the judge for a few scheduling exceptions, including the first two and the last 2 days of Passover, which starts on April 22nd, and Barron Trump's high school graduation on May 17th. Merchant said he would not yet make a decision on defense's request, saying it really depends on if we are on time and where we are in the trial. And as expected, crowds gathered yesterday afternoon to protest outside of the Manhattan courtroom. Some to protest against the former president, some in support. Some opponents of the president held signs that read, "No one is above the law, and Trump's deceit is beyond a reasonable doubt." Others held flags with the words "Trump 2024, Save America," and other positive, patriotic messages. Another with a flag featuring the 45th president's mugshot and the words "Never Surrender." Nearing the close of the first day of what is expected to be several days of jury selection, 3 possible jurors remained out of 96 that were sorted. Judge Merchan must whittle the jury pool down to 12. Trump has been charged, as you know, with 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree during his successful 2016 presidential campaign. The dozen ultimately selected will become the first Americans ever to sit in judgment of a president charged with a crime. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your comments, welcome on the Firmin Ford text line. Don't you think the judge should immediately agree to allow him to attend Barron's high school graduation? I mean, what's one day going to hurt in a trial like this? 864-477-5639. Appreciate your feedback on the Firmin Ford text line. Election integrity is an important issue. We've talked about it quite a bit here on Just the Truth. The entire nation is concerned about it. It consistently ranks very high in polls when talking with Americans about what they believe are the most important issues that we're facing going into November. Many of the blue states and cities around the country don't seem to care, which makes the story out of California that I'm going to share with you in a minute even more intriguing. Portions of today's show made possible by Firmin Ford. What I love about Firmin Ford, there's a lot to love about Firmin Ford, but the fact that they're locally owned and family operated right here in the upstate. I like to support locally run businesses, and you're going to get that with Firmin Ford. They're changing the way you buy vehicles at Firmin Ford by treating you like part of the family. Businesses like Firmin Ford, when it comes to getting your next vehicle, I hope you'll choose Firmin Ford in Lawrence because they do business the right way. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line with every single sale and every time someone goes by to get their car serviced. That means when you stop in or you call them or you send them an email, you'll always have access to a member of the Firmin family. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They'll help you navigate some of the great deals they have on their selection of pre-owned vehicles and some of their new vehicles. And what's even better, when you drive your new vehicle off the lot, you know that your money is staying right here and you're supporting our community, the upstate of South Carolina. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford in Lawrence or find them online at firminford.com, firminford.com. California officials, the state of California, are suing the beachside city of Huntington Beach over a voter ID amendment that it recently passed with the support of a majority of residents. The lawsuit from California Attorney General Rob Bonta and California Secretary of State Shirley Weber challenges Huntington's Beach voter ID law, Measure A, which amends the city's charter to allow voter ID requirements by 2026. In their lawsuit, Bonta and Weber argued that the city's voter ID law, quote, unlawfully conflicts and is preempted by state law. The right to freely cast your vote is the foundation of our democracy, and Huntington Beach's voter ID policy flies in the face of this principle, Bonta said in his statement. He argued that state elections already contain robust voter ID requirements with strong protections to prevent voter fraud. He said the new requirements would disproportionately burden low-income voters, voters of color, young or elderly voters, and people with disabilities. This is always the argument that these liberals make trying to defend their position against voter ID laws. Because I would challenge you to say that the low-income voters that they also often reference, the voters of color, the young, the elderly, all of these people have an ID. It's not unreasonable to ask a person to present an ID, and that's what the people of Huntington Beach agreed to. The city council placed the voter ID measure on the March ballot after taking a series of very hotly contested decisions on topics ranging from flag flying to the removal of books from the public library's children's section over concerns about the appropriateness of materials. The moves were initiated by a politically conservative council majority, which took office in 2022, and they've drawn scores of residents on all sides of issues to city meetings. The measure, which would let the city require voter identification, increase in-person voting sites, and monitor ballot drop boxes in local elections, won at the polls in March by 53% of the people. Yet, the state of California thinks they know better for Huntington Beach. City Attorney Michael Gates said that the amendment approved by voters last month is not only permissible, but backed by the state constitution. He said the people of Huntington Beach have made their voices clear on this issue, and the people's decision on the March 5th ballot measure for election integrity is final. To that end, the city will vigorously uphold and defend the will of the people, he said. And I hope they do. I hope this Huntington Beach will fight their state government on this. Bonta, who is a Democrat, said it was not immediately clear how the measure would be implemented. In California, voters can cast ballots in person and also by returning ballots to drop boxes or by mail. Huntington Beach, which is dubbed Surf City, USA, and known for its scenic shoreline, it is a beautiful area. I've been through there myself. Has a history of sort of objecting and sparring with state officials over measures that it can take under its city charter on topics ranging from immigration to housing. While Democrats outnumber Republicans in Orange County, the GOP is dominant in Huntington Beach with nearly 54,000 registered voters versus the 41,000 Democrats, according to county data. On the Firmin Ford text line, your comments are welcome as well. 864-477-JOEY. Jeff writes, Israel is God's people, and we must defend them at any cost. I agree with you, Jeff. Tony says, stop funding Ukraine and send it all to Israel. Susan, if Mr. Kirby didn't want his lies challenged, he should have gone on CNN or MSNBC instead of Fox. Many of Iran's drones and missiles were stopped by Israel's Iron Dome that the squad wanted to defund. Jennifer says, hey, Joey, here's a stat that I didn't know, and perhaps you and or your listeners don't know either. It comes from the Polk County, North Carolina Republican Party April newsletter. They're an active group, she says. The statistic is the top 10% of X users, Twitter, in the U.S. produce 92% of all tweets. Of that 10%, 69% are Democrats or lean Democrat, and just 26% are Republicans or lean Republican. They're encouraging us to be more present on X as they are. The Polk County Republican Party can be found on X at PolkNCGOP. That's interesting, Jennifer. Thank you for sending that in. You know, I'm on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And I love interacting with people who follow me on X, but I've never really just gotten into X. It's not one of my favorite social media platforms. But hey, if I'm going to look up the Polk County Republican Party. If you're from that area, I'd love to receive your newsletter to read about this. Our text of encouragement from our special friend Joel today says, outstanding leaders go out of their way to boost the self-esteem of their personnel. If people believe in themselves, it's amazing what they can accomplish. And that is very true, Joel. He says, God bless. God bless you. 864-477-5639 is the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a voice message. Emails welcome joey@joeyhudson.com. Do you get enough sleep? Do you feel maybe tired and sleepy all the time? If so, you're not alone. That seems to be a trend among Americans. I got some details coming up for you in just a moment. First, let me talk with you about that refrigerator that needs to be replacing, or maybe the dishwasher, or your washer and dryer. Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. If you're tired of buying appliances from inexperienced sales staff who just have no appliance knowledge whatsoever, because there are many options. When you go to one of the big box stores and they just show you the aisle that all the refrigerators are lined up on, There's so many brands and features and options. It's really kind of hard to figure out which one's right for you, isn't it? Well, when you shop with Discounted Appliance Warehouse, you're not going to have that issue because someone there, Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, someone, they're all very knowledgeable about appliances. It's quite amazing, actually. I get excited about talking with Discounted Appliance Warehouse and just how they have saved me money and they saved me time over the years, making sure I got the right appliance, whether it was for my home or for one of my rental properties. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they really do treat you like family. You're not just a credit card swipe to them. They have over 11,000 square feet slam full of appliances. Quite often, you can buy it today and use it today. They have expert installation, award-winning service department, and their extended warranties. They've got you covered well beyond the sale. And Discounted Appliance Warehouse is proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washers and dryers with up to a 7-year warranty on parts and labor. Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens and at dawpickens.com. If you're feeling kind of sleepy, tired, and you wish you could get some more shut-eye, evidently you're not the only one. Reports from the appease give some of the takeaways from a new Gallup poll on the subject, which was released yesterday. 57% of Americans say that they would feel better if they could get more sleep, while only 42% say they're getting as much sleep as they need. In 2013, when Americans were last asked the question, it was about the reverse, 56% saying they got the needed sleep and 43% saying they didn't. Per night, only 26% said that they got 8 or more hours of sleep per night. Just over half, 53%, reported 6 to 7 hours, and 20% said they got 5 hours or less, a jump from the 14% who reported the least amount of sleep in 2013. I don't know how you function on 5 hours or less. You know, quite often I'll get an email, a message on Facebook or one of the other social media platforms, YouTube. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, be sure and look me up. But I often get asked the question if I miss doing the Morning Answer radio show every day. And I was asked that many times last night at the 4th District Republican Club's gala. And my answer is this: I miss the interaction that I had with my listeners. You guys were special. Many of you listened to the podcast. And thank you for joining me on this journey with Just the Truth. So I miss that part of it. What I don't miss is getting up at 4 a.m. every day. For example, it was hard for me to go to evening events like the gala last night when I knew I had to get up at 4. If I went to an event like that, and I got home at 9, 10 o'clock, when I typically tried to be in bed before 9, I'd still have to stay up and prepare for the next day's show, or at least start kind of looking at the headlines. I still had to get up at 4. So I was already in a sleep deficit, and you never make that up during the week. And quite often, I'd have a busy weekend and be hard to make it up on the weekend. In 1942, according to this Gallup poll, the vast majority of Americans were sleeping more. Some 59% said they slept 8 or more hours, while 33% said they slept 6 to 7 hours. Why? Well, it's not entirely clear. And since Gallup last asked the question in 2013, there's no data breaking down the particular impact of the last 4 years, including the COVID pandemic. They speculate, though, that modern American life has this pervasive belief about how sleep was unnecessary, that it was the period of inactivity where little to nothing was actually happening, according to an expert at the National Sleep Foundation. Blame it on European Protestants who colonized the country, says Claude Fisher, a sociology professor at UC Berkeley. They believed that working hard and being rewarded with success was evidence of divine favor. The secularized form is that the morally corrupt person is somebody who doesn't waste their time. Some of that could be to include sleeping. Post-COVID life shows that revenge bedtime procrastination, in which people put off sleeping and instead scroll on social media or binge watch a show to handle stress. One 30-year-old said, I'm like, well, I didn't have any me time during the day, and it's now 10 p.m., so I'm going to feel totally fine and justified watching X number of episodes of TV, spending this much time on Instagram as my way to decompress, which obviously will always make the problem worse. Look, you cannot function, and it brings a lot of other health issues as well. Some studies have shown that lack of sleep can hurt your heart health. At the event last night with the GOP, I happened to have a few minutes to talk with some of my radio colleagues in the area. Over at WORD, Charlie James was there, Tara Savacious was there, and of course Tara is on 6A to 10. I was on 6A to 9, and we were just kind of trading notes. I asked her if she ever got comfortable with the idea of getting up at 4 a.m. every morning, and she shot back with a statistic that she says that men, particularly, who get up that early and lack sleep, are more likely to have heart attacks in their 50s than other men. Wasn't encouraging. It's just not natural. It's not natural not to get sleep. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails with the most up-to-date news. Find me on YouTube. Just search for Joey Hudson. Thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Now, I'm going to go take a nap to get caught up on my sleep. Keep those comments coming via Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, and keep your emails coming as well, joey@joeyhudson.com. We're back again tomorrow. I hope you plan to join us. Next time, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.